Welcome to the Stir It Up podcast, where our purpose is to encourage, challenge, lift up, and stir up the body of Christ to love and good works. Hello, and welcome to the Stir It Up podcast. I'm Michelle Dowdy, and I am without my co-host today. So the Harbin household has fallen to illness, so we don't have Starla with us today, so sad about that. But I have my husband here with me, Mark Dowdy, who is normally behind the scenes making everything work here. And we're going to hear about his story today. He wrote a book called Blind Faith. So I'm thankful to have him with me here today, and I know you're going to love hearing about his story. It's a very interesting story, and you'll have to read the book if you want all the details, because we won't have time to go into everything that the book entails. But I'm looking forward to you being able to hear more about his story. Without further ado, here's my husband, Mark Dowdy. Well, Mark, so you just moved from that chair to this chair, so
yep.
Welcome to the Stir It Up podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Fun.
It's interesting to be on this side of the microphone today. So
there you go.
It's fun.
There you go.
Yes.
So, wow. Where do we even start? I guess at the beginning, right?
I guess.
We'll start at the beginning.
All right.
So you can see this book here, Blind Faith, and so I think we alluded to this last week also, that we started this book in 2013?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it took several years to kind of go through it and
It
really
did.
get it like we wanted.
I remember when we started it, and
Yeah.
of course, Eric Blem was kind of a big sort of a push to do this after the whole Fearless thing.
Right.
And he said at that time, because I thought, okay, it's going to be easy to write my story.
Yeah.
We'll get this done in no time.
Yeah.
But he said, no. He said, you'll start writing it, and then life will creep in. And I'm thinking, we can do it. But sure enough, life crept in, and it was like a couple of years in the making.
Right.
And then a couple of years even after that, as far as, trying to shop a publishing deal and trying to, do all that.
Yeah.
So it took some time.
Right. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It took several years.
Right.
And, of course, that was going on the times we were in the midst of life. Like you said, life goes on.
Absolutely.
And, so trying to do that. But let's start back at the very beginning, I guess your beginning,
Okay.
where this story starts.
Okay.
So August 28th,
All right.
1965.
Yeah.
So you have a big birthday about to be here. When this airs, it'll be in a couple of days.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
August 28th. But you were born in Hall County, Georgia, in what I would call an idyllic town back then.
Absolutely.
I mean, where everybody knew everybody.
Yes.
And your parents were very just steadfast, stable people, and the church was really the center of their life.
Yeah, and they were young parents, and they were kind of sort of setting themselves up to be sort of pillars in the community, and so they knew a lot of people, and it was Gainesville at that time was probably a town of about, I would say, probably 20,000 at that time. So it was still, you consider, pretty small.
Right. And so you had a sister already. They were in their early. Well, your dad was 30, but your mother was a few years younger
20s,
than.
yes.
Yeah, he was. So already had an older sister, and so you were born, and we set this up in the book. But in the hospital, your mother felt like she knew something was wrong with your eye.
Right.
She said, made that comment to the nurse, and she was like, oh, he's fine. Everything's fine.
Right.
And then the doctor came in and shared with her the next day. So,
Yes. That is true. So
and that was John Reed that came in and shared, was it? Yeah. And so then started that just immediate sort of cascade of events, and just them sort of leaping into action, I guess you could say, and trying to do everything that they could do to make sure that if anything could be corrected, that they would give you every chance to do that.
Absolutely. Yes.
So tell me about what the events were? I mean, what was the first surgery that you had? What were the steps your parents took, and sort of how that looked?
Well, I think the first surgery was actually not anything to do with the cornea itself. The first surgery was sort of another little thing that I don't even really remember. I was only 6 months old when that happened, so obviously I don't remember it. But the first surgery, I think, came at about 12 months. Was a cornea transplant. And there were just a series of those, just old-style cornea transplants, I would say. So the first one I remember, though, I don't remember one until I was 6.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, because I couldn't quite remember. But so all of these, though, up until that point, like you'd have one, and then it would reject.
Oh yeah,
within
a matter of days, really.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So the one at 6. What do you remember about that one?
Well, that one I remember being traumatized by having to go through the surgical procedure, being put to sleep and the whole thing. So I remember they had to do a retake. Basically, they had to do the surgery again because I'd pulled the stitches out in a fit of whatever after the surgery.
Yeah.
So the one that I remember, if you're wanting to know about any visual things, it would be the next one that I remember when I was 7.
Yeah.
I remember when the patch came off, they would only take the patch off to do the examination or to do like a redressing or to put medication in or something like that. So in those brief times that the patch was off, I remember being able to see very clearly across the room. And there was I'd had a birthday while I was in the hospital, and my doctor of all people had come to my birthday party and brought me this really cool, like this Milton Bradley big red fire truck, incredible fire truck. And I remember seeing it across the room and how bright red, vivid it was, and just seeing all the shapes had become just lifelike in the room.
Distinct.
Yeah, absolutely. The colors and the shapes themselves were incredible.
And then that's started to fade then, or rejected.
Within the next. But by the time I left the hospital, it had already rejected.
Right. So do you remember? Well, I think in the book we talked about the fact that people were more stoic back then. I guess. Was there any talk of being disappointed of things?
Nope. No talk of that at all.
Talk of that.
Not at all.
And so if your parents ever felt that,
they didn't
show it.
No, they didn't express it. No.
And you as a little kid didn't feel that either?
I didn't express it. I felt it, but I didn't express it. I just thought, well, this is the hand I'm dealt. Well, of course, as a 7-year-old, I wasn't thinking the hand I'm dealt. But I'm thinking, this is where we are. So let's get back to school and start figuring this out,
And then, so that was at age 7. So then... Did you have another one before that procedure that we'll talk about next, the keratoprosthesis?
I did.
Okay, so there was one more.
Yes, because that same, about a year later, in August of 1973, I was just about to be 8. I had not turned 8 yet, and I had another cornea transplant. That's when we figured out the anesthesia dilemma that we talk about in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's fun. So back then, of course, I don't know what. I guess now they still sort of do the same thing, but they use this mixture of fentanyl and other things to make a gas to put you to sleep with, and they would, of course, they put the mask on. I did not like the mask, and I'm extremely claustrophobic now, and I guess maybe I even was a little bit then. I just didn't like something being on my face like that. And so I'd had problems with that. Well, this anesthesiologist, Dr. John Yarborough, I'm telling you what, God brings people into your life for a reason. And he was he was the head anesthesiologist on there, so there were nurses in there that were administering while he was doing something else. Yeah. He was across the room, and so they couldn't get me to do the mask. He said, well, why don't you let him hold the mask? I mean, this big booming voice, and they said, what? And they said, yeah, why don't you let him? And of course the nurse said, well, we've never done that before, you know. He said, well, there's a first time for everything, isn't it? And so, and he just came over where I was, and he says, well, young man, you want to be an astronaut? I said, well, yes, sir, in my little teary kind of voice. And he said, well, here we go. He said, let's just slip this on you then, and you breathe deep, and let's get on out into space now.
Oh, and you said he was like a Southern.
Oh,
really
yeah, just the way I'm kind of doing it. Yes,
accent.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And so from that point on, all the other surgeries, I got to hold the mask.
Oh, okay. So that was the secret.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
So, and then the result of that one ended up just rejecting too.
Yes.
And did you have that same experience of the vision being clear for a moment?
I did.
Okay,
yep.
or for a little bit,
yep.
for a few days or whatever.
Right.
Okay. And so then, there was an experimental procedure or a cutting edge. It wasn't really experimental, I guess, but it was more like a cutting edge procedure that you had called a keratoprosthesis.
Right. It was probably considered experimental in the U.S. because it had not been done here a lot yet. So, because the doctor who had perfected it was from Spain.
Right.
And so, that was the next step then on our surgical journey.
And was that your Atlanta doctor, your Atlanta eye doctor, was he the one who sort of pushed for that?
He was. He knew this doctor and had actually gone to a conference and seen, actually he saw a surgery while he was there. He saw this doctor perform the surgery, and he had seen then the results of it. So he was really kind of pushing for us to do this.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that, where you had to go and you went to Boston.
Well, no, actually I went to New York for that one.
Oh, New York for that one, yes.
Well, during that point, basically, Atlanta was not on the radar to have that surgery done. New York was the only place to do it. And so it was Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in New York, which was really, of course, any teaching hospital like this you're going to have is going to be cutting edge. You know, as is Emory, as is any of those hospitals like that. But this was a multi-step procedure to do it. Number one, you have to go be tested to see if you're a candidate for it.
Yeah.
So they have to do ultrasounds because my corneas were opaque.
We didn't really go into like what was wrong at first, but it was like clouded.
It was clouded corneas,
opacity of corneas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so since they were opaque like that, they couldn't see behind there. So they had to do some ultrasounds to sort of see, well, what's back there? Can we even do the surgery? So did that. Found out a few weeks later that I was a candidate for the surgery. Then they had to do a couple of surgeries. To like remove your lens and remove a cornea and to prepare for it. So I had to go through those first. Then that took within about 3 months after that, then we went to New York to have that surgery done there.
And y'all, I just want to say at this point, and just you can continue in a second, but so Mark has one of those memories that I can't even remember the name for it now, but like that. I mean, he can remember dates of things that happened in his own life. I mean, he's pretty good with dates, other dates too, but like things that happened to him, he can remember. Just crazy details about like even what day Christmas was on and whatever any year you would ask him or whatever, like within his lifespan, and just things like that. So through the years it's always been like, well, let's stump Dad, like some question, like the just like pull up a date and then kids will be checking on the phone to see if he's right, and he is. So but anyway, so if you're wondering how does he remember all that's how. I mean, it's almost like every day of your life, almost, I feel like, is and I don't know if it's like every morning, you may not even know you do this. You'll say, well, it's August the 20th or whatever,
I do,
So I think that just like, he's like recording all this in his brain
We'll see
every
now
day,
on this next big birthday. We'll see how long that's going to last, So
So keratoprosthesis. So you had to have all the preliminary
the prep surgeries
things,
and all the things,
and then it was time to do it.
That's right.
So that went well.
It went well, yes, and it was interesting because usually on the other hospital stays that we'd had on the other cornea transplants, it was like a 2-week hospital stay. We get there and find out it's only going to be 4 days. And so
because that's one other thing we didn't say is like these cornea transplants back then, you had to be immobilized like on your head.
Yes,
I mean, laying forward or face down.
Well, no, you couldn't lay face down. No, you had to lay. You had to not be able. You could not bend like this.
Oh, okay.
No,
I thought you were down on the other side, but you were supine.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. But you just had to be really still.
You did.
Immobilized.
Yes.
I may be thinking about retina.
Well, retina, you had to lay face down.
Yeah. Right. Okay. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
So when we got there, then found out that 4 days later we're going to be going home. Well, in our minds, there was something wrong with this because where's the 2-week stay?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that and that was like an immediate. You could tell this has worked.
Oh yeah.
And then was there, because it was an artificial thing, was there a chance of rejection of that?
Absolutely.
Like you had to keep watching
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Yes.
But it was a success.
Yes, and that was a different experience because basically I had the surgery on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday they took the patch off. Went over from the hospital to the doctor's wing over there, and so when the doctor examined me, then they just left the patch off, and he said, "We'll only put this on at night when you sleep," and I was able to be up and around, so I was walking the halls of the hospital and just doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a totally different experience.
So how did that change then, as far as what you could do in school? Like you were in what, 4th grade?
I was going into the 4th grade at that point.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, how did that change what you'd been doing and then what you were now able to do?
Well, I was doing all my work to that point in Braille, and so then what that did was it opened me up to read large print, and so even learning to do math problems in large print. Then I could go to the board and work problems in front of the class. So I would do that, so that then, helps me sort of formulate, like writing numbers and things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So a lot of learning.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Had to
Yeah.
go
There was
on
a lot
at
of learning
point.
that went with it. Yes.
Yeah. So that was just, the issue was in both eyes, but that was on your right
side,
eye
yes,
that they did that. So the left one was still just pretty much
just what it was.
What it was. So,
yes, what it was.
But they decided just to do it on the right because.
Yeah, I mean, I think
to take
because
that chance
right,
on the
yes,
other one.
yes,
yeah. So then how long did you have that before the event happened that we'll
probably
talk about?
It was a little over a year.
Okay. And so then you had an accident on the playground. Actually were pushed off a swing.
Yeah.
And so that then you fell and I guess knocked it. And so tell me about that, like how then what you started noticing visually.
Well, I didn't notice it right away, but I noticed when it started to happen. I just noticed everything became, sort of distorted, and then after the distortion, sort of began to darken a bit, and that happened once it started. It happened over a pretty short amount of time. I would say probably an hour, maybe. And so, but as a 10-year-old at that point, my thought process was I've been through a lot. Maybe this will come back. It's going to come back. So I didn't say anything to anybody at first.
Yeah. So because I remember from the book that you went on to y'all were headed to some kind of event.
We were going to a tree lighting.
Yeah, like
it
a tree lighting.
It was right before Christmas. Yeah. So we were going to tree lighting. So I just went to the tree lighting and didn't say anything.
Right. And then what point did you say something the next day?
The next day, yes.
Yeah, and then they started making the calls.
Yeah, the next morning. Yeah, of course, I went to school.
Yeah. And
because I had to go with my class to perform, like to sing somewhere, and so I had to go on and do that. So that was on, like the day after it happened. But of course, my parents were already working behind the scenes to set some things up. Then the day after that, I was in specialist's office the day after that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then. So it was determined what was the issue?
Well, they didn't know at first because there again, they couldn't really see everything they needed to. So I had to go to New York again for them to do what was called a B scan. They didn't have one of those in Atlanta at the time. And so basically that's where you look way in the back of the eye and they see things that you couldn't just see normally. It was basically the next step up from ultrasound was what it was.
Oh, yeah.
So then they determined, went back to the same person that actually did the surgery on me for the keratoprosthesis, or the American doctor, the attending physician there, Dr. Gerald DeVoe.
Okay.
And he's the one that then performed the B scan. And then it was determined that my retina was detached in that eye.
Right. And then they tried to reattach
twice
the retina twice, and it did not work.
Right.
So then your vision was just gone in that eye, right? Totally. So then you just had your left eye.
That is correct.
So that changed there again. That changed what you were doing at school, you could do.
It did. Yes.
And you described kind of like maybe for the first time just having a depressed feeling, I guess, about everything.
Right. I'll back up just a day or so before that, because when I remember going to school the morning after it happened, and being I had to adjust to the vision that I had before all the the keratoprosthesis. So I remember walking through the classroom and sort of having to sort of feel my way through the desks again, the rows of desks.
Yeah.
And that was only for like a short time, and then I did adjust and didn't have to do that anymore. So I had enough vision that I could do that, to navigate around things like that. But that first day was kind of weird again. So, to answer your question about the depression part of it, there was just a few days after it happened, that I don't know what you want me to share about that, but
just anything you want.
Well, it was, I'd come in after school, and I just remember sitting down, and I'd been home for a little while, and I don't know, I just sort of, I had not had any kind of emotional whatever about this,
Yeah.
And it just hit me all of a sudden. And I just had a good cry for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was it. And once I got it out of my system, I was ready to rock. I was ready to move on.
Yeah, because at 10 you're old enough to kind of know, know more of what's going on.
Yeah, this is going to change your life. And of course that was before the attempts to reattach the retina.
Right.
So who knew?
So you thought there may still
be some hope.
Yeah. And then I think it needs to be said, just even the little girl that pushed you, and then like you could have even let bitterness sort of take hold. So like, did you ever think about that as a little kid, like this little girl pushed me and
not a bit.
It's her fault?
Not
or
a bit.
Anything?
Not a bit. No. Yeah. Other people did.
Yeah.
But
that just wasn't
that was not my nature.
Yeah.
And that was not in my thought process. That was definitely not in my scope at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's amazing, and that is your personality, I think, just to not hold on to things, or not hold on to bitterness or
well,
anything like
it was
that.
done. So I mean, what's that going to do? So
right. Well, let's go on to happier things.
Okay, all right.
But kind of circle back to the music. So I think from the beginning, music was a part of your life, your
Absolutely.
enjoyment.
Absolutely. Yep.
And you realized early on that you had a real talent, and sort of like a prodigy, I guess you would say. Funny story. Tell that about when you were tuning people's guitars at age 6 in a little class.
Well, I started to take guitar lessons with a group in first grade, and of course they weren't first graders. They were actually people in our special ed, what was called the resource class back then, visually impaired people, and so I guess I kind of took to it because about probably the third lesson in, I guess, maybe something like that. My teacher walked into the class. We'd already been in there for a little while. She walked in and she was going to try to tune everybody's guitars, and they said, "Oh, well, Mark already did it." And so I had already kind of learned how to tune the guitar by that point.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just kind of something that you did, So I just went around and got everybody's guitars and tuned them.
Yeah. So, did she even realize, oh, he's got perfect pitch at that point?
She didn't call it that. No.
Yeah.
I mean, she may have realized it, but she didn't say it. But they and oddly enough, they were all in tune. But yes, they were all in tune with each other as well. So you could tune an instrument to itself, but can you tune it to what would be standard pitch?
All the others in tune, all in tune.
Yes,
so
yes.
You had it done at 6 years old. You're tuning people's guitars. I always thought that was such a funny story. But music though became your way to sort of that was your calling card, so to speak, I guess, and your way to kind of fit in. You describe in the book, that if you've got something that makes you different or whatever, you look for that way to fit in.
Yeah. And people, obviously there are certain disabilities or impairments, I guess you would say, that people just aren't as comfortable with, and that was one of them because they just don't know how to deal with you.
Yeah.
And so music to me was always a great icebreaker, to say, look, I'm just one of you guys,
Yeah. So you started, really doing things even for money, or early as a little 10, 12-year-old or whatever.
My first paycheck came when I was 10. Yes.
Yeah, 10.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. For playing.
Yep.
So, and you did things on TV and just different, and all this is in the book. But there's just lots and lots of history. Let's see. Oh, and I was going to touch on this too, that you scouting was a big thing for you, and you were the first blind Eagle Scout in the state of Georgia, as far as we know. We've kind of researched that a little bit. We don't know of anybody else, but
allegedly, let's say.
Allegedly. And so that was a neat thing to work through and try to figure out. They adapted things for you to do your merit badges and all that.
They did some, but then there were some things that you just had to suck it up and do it. But
right. And I don't mean it was made any easier. It was just they, like the cowbell, the archery. So what'd you call it?
Marksmanship.
Tell about that.
Well, so we had this event every year. It's called summer camp, and this was where all of the districts, everybody would go to this one place for a week, and you'd have summer camp and do all this. And so this was great because you could earn a lot of merit badges while you were there that week. And so I was in line at breakfast one day, and my scoutmaster came up, and he's like, "You think you'd want to try to do the marksmanship merit badge?" And I've never thought about it, and the instructor was actually standing right there, and I can't remember his name, but he said, my scoutmaster turned to him and said, "Do you think there's a way we could do that?" And he's kind of got a happy expression, and he says, "Yeah, I think we could do this." So he said, meet me over at the range this afternoon. And so got there, and they had rigged up this cowbell that was over the target. And so I was on the shooter's platform, and they had a cord that ran all the way back to the shooter's platform. And so there was somebody standing behind me, and they would pull the cord and ring the bell. And so I would take the shot, and I got pretty good at it. And I mean, I did hit the bullseye on the target, but I kept shooting. And one time I shot, and I heard bing, and I shot a hole in the cowbell. And I still have that cowbell.
Yeah.
I wish I had it right now.
We should have put it right here. Maybe we
may get a shot and put it in the thing.
So as a producer, to say I need more cowbell, maybe you
absolutely
had a cowbell
way
from
back
the
then. I did. So that was pretty cool. Yes, and I did end up getting the merit badge. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's a neat story, and just a neat story of encouragement. For anybody who has a challenge like that they're dealing
Sure.
with, all the things that you did, and were able to accomplish through your growing up. And this, part of the things, I mean, that's your own inner drive, but then, without those supportive adults too,
Oh, absolutely.
like a lot of it wouldn't have been, like they're rigging up a thing for you to do,
Right,
with the cowbell. So,
I mean, you have to have people, yes, you can have all the drive in the world, but you got to have people that believe also that you can do it.
Right,
and they want to see you take that opportunity and take that challenge.
Right.
Thank you for joining us today. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all.